Week 1 gave us some incredible football, and I'm not just saying that because I make UFL content. I mean, seriously, we had a big man touchdown and a record-setting field goal. So to say that Week 2 has some hype to live up to would be a bit of an understatement. The second week of UFL action is going to tell us a lot about who these teams are, so let's just go ahead and get right into this one. The first game to kick off Week 2 is going to be the San Antonio Brahmas at the Memphis Showboats. Now, with the San Antonio Brahmas, there's no doubt that their offense looked like a well-oiled machine. Chase Garbers finished with 158 yards with 3 total touchdowns and a completion percentage of 76%. But his 158 yards was the lowest thrown by any starting quarterback this weekend. And Jontre Kirkland was a stud, finishing with 61 yards and a touchdown. Now, with their defense, it was hard to tell if they were really good or not because DC really looked that bad. But there is no denying the impact of their defensive unit. They had 4 sacks, 4 tackle for losses, and an interception, with linebacker Wyatt Ray and defensive back Darius Phillips being the standouts for this defense. On to the Showboats. The Showboats and their new captain Shep Cookus had a solid game, finishing with 204 yards, a tutty, and even had a completion percentage of 57.5%, with the best throw of the day being in the back of the end zone to Vinny Papali with an even better toe tap.
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I don't think his slow start to the season looked that bad, especially because their own line was atrocious. That front 7 of the Roughnecks puts pressure on the QB and makes you fight for your yards. But let's not get it twisted. This Showboats defense is nothing to mess with either, though. Their linebacker Greg Reeves was just
sensational. That's the word you're looking for.
Finishing with 3 total tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. And their defensive back Kyrie Woods looked fantastic as well, forcing the fumble that was returned for a touchdown in the beginning of the game and finished with 3 tackles as well. Good old Wade Phillips gave this team a new look, and it's definitely something to look forward to. But I mean, the Memphis Showboats look dominant on both sides of the ball, and for that reason, I would personally take them against the spread and take the over because I have faith that the Brahmas will be able to put up some points, and please don't make me regret that. The second game on the schedule is the Arlington Renegades at the St. Louis Battlehawks. The St. Louis Battlehawks faced a tough defense in the Michigan Panthers last week, which caused a late start for their offense. AJ McCarry and the Hawks threw for 216 yards with 2 touchdowns and a completion percentage of 64.9%. And it's not like he was dinking and dunking down the field either. Like, he was making some big boy throws, like this one to Marcel Aitman. But that wasn't until the second half, and unfortunately this Battlehawks team looked out of sync to start off the game. And you know, to be honest, if you can't get your run game going, your offense becomes pretty predictable. And trust me, I understand that.
Chicks dig the long ball.
But most games are won in the trenches, whether you like it or not. Their linebacking core does look promising though, with Mike Rose putting up 4 tackles, a pass block, and an interception on top of that. And Willie Harvey Jr. having 7 total tackles, which included 2 tackle for losses and 2 pass breakups as well. Now with the Arlington Renegades, I mean, where the fuck do I even start? You know what? I'm gonna start with the defense. When you give up 183 yards rushing, including 2 separate runners going for over 50, that's how you lose a ball game 27-14. But you always gotta find a silver lining in every situation. I guess you could say their secondary didn't look that bad. They had 2 interceptions and one of those stopped a potential score, so honestly it could be worse. Now onto the offense. So Luis Perez is an interesting case, right? Because he did have that really ugly late game interception that did ice the game for them, but outside of that, he had a really solid game. He threw for 214 yards, a tutty, and he had a 67.9% completion percentage. But they could never get their run game going. But hey, luckily for them, they are going up against a squad that gave up 112 yards rushing last game. So honestly, I expect a bounce back game from Davion Smith. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I fully expect the Battlehawks to come into this one and have a bounce back game over the Renegades. You know, I think it's pretty simple. They not only have the better quarterback, but they also didn't give up 409 yards last week. And for that reason, I would take the Battlehawks to cover the spread, but I would probably go with the under on this one. Now, the first game on Sunday is going to be the Birmingham Stallions at the Michigan Panthers. The Stallions are back-to-back champions for a reason. There is no denying the genius of Skip Holtz. For the 3rd straight year, there has been a different starting quarterback for this squad, and so far it looks like he's 3 for 3 on his personnel changes. Matt Corral went out there and did his thing, man. He threw for 201 yards with a touchdown, and let's be honest, his lonely interception of the day was not his fault. clearly. But the choice of sprinkling a quarterback who has wheels like Martinez, he could be used for some wild formations. But just for the love of God, don't let him drop back to pass. Their run defense looked great, and seeing how they are facing a run-heavy team this week, it should be an interesting matchup. The Michigan Panthers are led by an absolutely fantastic defense. They beat a team last week that was just supposed to slap them around, but instead they put the pressure on their offensive front all night, having 3 sacks and 6 tackle for losses. Also, their safety Kai Nakua, yes, his brother is Puka Nakua, had a breakout game, having 11 tackles and 2 tackle for losses with a sack on top of that. But in all seriousness, I need you to listen to me, and you listen to me good. Do not listen to whatever person is trying to tell you that EJ Perry is a good quarterback. Because I watched the game,
and I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
I would feel more comfortable with Snack Davis from the Indoor Football League as my quarterback.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
Than this guy. 176 yards with a completion percentage of 50% and 2 interceptions. Oh, and his 2 touchdowns on the ground combined for a total of 12 yards. But god damn it, Jake Bates, I love you like you're my own kin. Jake the Great. Jake the Great. Jake the. But just in case my slurp job of the Michigan D.
What?
Made it seem like my decision on who's going to win the game is on the fence, and trust me, it's not. I expect the Stallions to win, but I do think the Panthers defense is going to keep it close. With that said, I would take the Panthers at +6.5 and take the under on this one. The final game of the weekend is going to be the Houston Roughnecks at the DC Offenders. Yes, I know I said Offenders. So let's start off with the high points of the Houston Roughnecks. Their front 7 is absolutely fantastic, and in fact, I predicted them to be one of the best defensive fronts this year, and I still stand by that. In my H-Town Proud video, I'll talk more in depth about this squad, and if you haven't seen it, go check it out. This defense had 3 sacks with 7 tackle for losses and an interception on top of that. But as far as this secondary is concerned, they gave up the 4th most pass yards last week. Now, on to the ugly part of the team, and that's the offense. Well, let's be honest, more specifically, that offensive line. I think it was one of the worst I have ever seen.
Here comes the blitz and no one's blocking.
For both passing and for rushing. And you know what? I think Guarantano was the first quarterback I've ever seen to have a negative pocket time. DC, man. There's not much really good to say. I mean, Jordan Teamu, he was the only bright spot in this otherwise dark void. The reigning XFL Offensive Player of the Year had 245 all-purpose yards, but unfortunately no touchdowns. And he did have that ugly interception in the red zone on top of that. Their special teams can't go without mention, though. Puka Williams,
no relation,
had over 150 return yards between kickoffs and punts. Oh, and their sole scorer was their kicker. Get it? Cause soul.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And if it wasn't for Matt McCrane, they wouldn't have any points on the board at all. This defense is just a mess. It doesn't understand the philosophy of bend, don't break. Instead, it does both of those things, bend and break. On paper, this defense did an all right job. They only gave up 17 more yards than the promise, and they did force a fumble. But it's the things like not being able to hold a team to a field goal or not even being able to stop a route like the flat. Look, Jordan Teamu is an incredible talent, but without a run game and an offensive line that definitely cannot stop the front 7 of the Roughnecks, I'm going to give the upset of the weekend to the Roughnecks. Oh, and take the over. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see more, go ahead and check out my channel down there. I did just start. If you wouldn't mind giving it a like or even a view, it would mean the world to me. But anyway, once again, thank you so much. Also, if you are a fan of sports history, then you should come check out my YouTube shorts or my TikTok, where I post daily. Hey guys, welcome back.